We will move into a period of silent reflection. If you're just coming into the room, we're going to introduce a period of, traditionally it's called meditation or silent reflection, but we're really going to be reintroduced to ourselves and aspects of ourselves. Think of it that way. You're not going anywhere, but you're just going to slowly meet yourself as you are in this moment. And we're going to go deeper into that orientation of meeting ourselves over the next few minutes. So we'll begin meeting ourselves by taking a deep breath on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Inhale and release. And there are many parts of ourselves that we know, and there are many parts that we don't know, at least in this moment. So let's take it slow and just begin meeting ourselves by allowing the sounds of the room to become normal. The things that you hear and feel, patiently allow yourself to just immerse into that. As if you're acclimating like a new fish being placed into an aquarium. Just allow the sound, the field of sound, to be that water and adjust. And we're adjusting because there is something in the water. Water being the field of sound. There is something there. And everything that we hear in the field of sound is because there's something living that's creating a vibration, which is reaching our ear or our body. And whatever that thing is, it deserves to live. So we invite an attitudinal shift about the field of sound. And we'll fold into the observation of sound. We'll fold in the dimension of the body, which is our feelings and our moods that are currently present. We're meeting ourselves I would say somatically, beginning maybe with the temperature that our body is. And if you feel deeper, you may feel some sort of impulses or energy that feels like it's moving, or maybe hot and cold at the same time. But just allow yourself to slowly meet yourself as you are. And you may notice the flow of respiration or oxygen just cycling in a little more naturally. You don't force anything to be, just allow, see if you can observe what your body's doing and what your mind is doing in relation to other forms of life that are in your environment. Forms of life are noises and vibrations and dogs or cats or cars. But if we change our attitude and say there's something living on the other side of those noises, and they deserve to live, just like I did. Softening as you adjust and adapt. Mm. Observing the randomness of thoughts that have a life of their own. This is a part of ourselves that we often meet when we meditate. Very familiar. But some of you with more experience may see the predictable nature of your thought life and how it just seems to be a loop. The mind makes everything so urgent, but it was like this the last time. See for yourself if all the fuss that the mind makes is actually valid. Just look and see. Keeping your air pathways open, mm, keeping your air pathways open. This was what provides us with a sense of balance as we go through these waves of experience. What many of you may be approaching in your experience is a space that may resemble a willingness to coexist, to simply coexist with everything else. That's also known as equanimity. And it can take a long time to get there, where we're just willing to coexist with other things. But you're approaching that. As we adapt to coexisting with other living things, allow your heart to find its way to open itself to people who you sense some degree of connection to. Is there any desire for the well-being of another person, place, or thing that your heart is trying to speak to? Where and what is your heart calling to your attention? We have to learn how to follow that and to be sensitive to that. Can you allow that connection to happen without saying anything? But just to see if you can make the connection to where your heart is directing you. Who is the person or the persons, places, or things? And be present with those elements for a moment until you feel or begin to feel a connection. That opens you up to compassion, acceptance, curiosity, care. You see, the mind will intellectualize and say, you can't care about that person, but the heart will override that. So don't confuse the two. The mind will try to filter out where your heart goes. So just listen to your heart. And allow these words just to reverberate as you repeat them in your own silent voice. May I continue to be safe and protected from inner and outer harm. Just repeat that in your own silent voice and feel it reverberate in your being. May I continue to be safe from inner and outer harm. Repeat that. May I continue to experience joy and ease. And let that be spoken in your inside voice. May I continue to experience health and well-being, good health and well-being, and see how your body responds to those phrases in your inside voice. Health and well-being. May I continue to experience an open heart and a clear mind. How does that feel? Having that reverberate in your being. May I have a clear heart, an open heart, and a clear mind. And may I continue to experience that. May I hear and understand people exactly where they are and where they're coming from. May I continue to hear and understand exactly where people are in all my relations. And we will begin to transition. I want to invite you to just allow your breath to get a little deeper as you on the inhale, to where it just fills the top of the belly just a little bit, and release. And just cycle through a few deep breaths like that, that just fills the top of the belly. As the bell fades, I encourage you virtually and in this direct space to maintain your connection with this vibration that we have created and that you have cultivated for yourself. As you move, as you speak, stay in rhythm with yourself as you are, and it will fade in its own time. Thank you for your practice. And we will take a break. Uh, we'll come back at like 10:55. That's in like 30 minutes. No, I'm kidding. No, it's less than 10 minutes. So thank you. I discovered a quote from one of my virtual teachers this week, one I had never seen before. And that virtual teacher is a man named Bill Evans, who was a very accomplished composer in the genre of jazz. And this isn't the whole thing, but he said, words are the children of reason. I was prompted to say that because I didn't want to say anything as we were reassembling out of respect for the atmosphere that is here. The context that of what was being expressed in that words are the children of reason is that they fail to enact the possibility of a direct experience. They don't convey what it feels like to experience something. You could string 100 words together and it will not meet the awe and the depth of the actual direct experience of a thing. As people say, you have to see for yourself. I can't even tell you, can't describe it. I'm speechless. That's not what I really came to talk about, I don't think. But I was reminded of that as we were reassembling, and I asked you to stay in touch with your experience when we went to the break. And I still feel that way. And it can appear to be very self-indulgent and selfish to acknowledge your own alignment with something that you were connecting to, and yet there's an agenda of what is supposed to be said and what's supposed to be done that we have to work with sometimes. What I would like to do is continue where we started, and I would just like maybe two or three people, even in our virtual space, if you would love to participate, I'd love to hear from you. But was there anything that you encountered in your experience, your direct experience, that was different? Were you able to experience yourself a little differently in your meditation experience this morning? Some of us do this pretty regularly, and sometimes the regularity makes us forget that we're supposed to experience something different. Meditation. Was there anyone here who encountered something that you feel is different? I don't want you to try to measure up with anything because there's nothing really to be measured that measures to you. Yes. Oh, we have a microphone if you wanna share that. And
This
your
is
name?
Herman. This is just my thing. Last time I was here, you talked about calligraphy and how was just one continuous motion. And I said to myself, how can I translate this mental thought into a physical being? I play golf. Before I come in the morning, I play golf. I was having difficulty with my swing. And when you said it's one continuous motion, and I said, oh, let me try my golf swing with one continuous motion rather than trying to hit the ball, if that makes sense. Because I was going and I was trying to hit it. But when I went with one continuous motion from the calligraphy that you talked about a couple of weeks ago, it worked.
Wow.
And I've been sitting on this since the last time I was
Oh
here.
my God.
And I was debating with myself, is this something I should say or something I should share?
I got chills right now hearing
Um,
that. So
but
that's
yes,
that's
one
something.
continuous motion from your calligraphy presentation a couple of weeks ago improved my golf game.
Herman, thank you. You know, the second half of that was that these artists must practice a particular discipline, that of allowing the idea to express itself in communication with their hands in such a direct way that deliberation cannot interfere. Yeah, yeah. Sorry for the esoteric nature of that quote. Maybe I'll repeat it. Um, it's some higher learning stuff, higher learning stuff. Yes.
I'm Lisa. Thank you for that meditation. It was very, or for that guidance. It was very. It helped me open up to a lot of things. One of the things that happens to me, I'm sure it happens to most people, is the thoughts in the brain come, and in this case, when the thought came, I just opened my heart to it instead of saying, thought or concern or whatever, and making it go, like kind of fighting it, making it go away. In this case, I could combine the thought and open up my heart to it and have a softer response to it.
Hmm.
That's
Mm.
different for me.
Mm. I'm glad you experienced that. Hmm. Anyone on the Zoom space that um, encountered some part of yourself that was different or had something? Sherry, yes.
Sorry. There we go. Um, yes, so what what I experienced was something about when you said to coexist with everything else. And my uh, my experience was relating to my sister-in-law, that we had this discussion last week, and she was very much in a different place than I am in terms of what's happening in the world and in our country. And I just, during that experience, I was just like fuming and pushing away. My body was pushing away everything that she was saying. But during the meditation, I was able to kind of open more and soften. And it was a sense that I can move towards allowing that and even loving her in the same space that is different from me.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I just felt the opening to that. So, thank you.
Sherry, that's a significant breakthrough. That's very significant. Very, very significant. And you know, if you wanted to, not that you have to, but that's like bridge building material. You know, if you feel led to extend that into like a phone call and just share, be a little bit more transparent about things. Um, you know, the relationships that we have to people are more important in the context of the social climate. You know, the social climate is filled with ideas that people are attracted to, but the people have to be connected to. And it's just the cloudiness that the ideas that we're pursuing creates, but the connection to the people is the main thing. But anyway, Sherry, thank you. I'm working with several cliffs. I could just go down it. Anyone, just jump off a cliff into some abstract kind of thinking. I'm feeling very abstract this morning. Oh, yeah, I see one more hand. Was it Will or was it the? Okay, however you
Well,
want to do.
mine was first, but I'll be super
No, no,
quick.
go
So
ahead,
Carol,
Will. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so Carol can get in also. Um, I want to piggyback on what Sherry said. It just happens to be the same experience that I had with making room. And just this morning, I was on Facebook, which I don't do often, and I muted someone who has a series of just signs with words, and it says things like "Pray for our president, Donald Trump." And I was like, ugh, spiritual bypass. I hate that SHYT. And, and muted him for 30 days. And in this moment of guidance, I heard and understood from my heart, oh, that's their ministry of those who need it most are the ones we pray for. And I'll leave it there.
Hmm. Yeah, that's significant too. Yeah. Thank you, Will. And we have another hand. I don't know. I can't see their name.
Yeah.
Carol, please, Carol.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your teaching. As always, you're one of my favorite teachers. So this concept about listen with your heart and not with your head has very, very deeply resonated in me this morning. I'm just really vibrating with excitement. Music Men's Minds is now developing a curriculum for a world audience on using music as conflict resolution. There's no talky because we say that music goes right to the heart. And the words that you bring to me today echo so loudly in my head because this is the root to our project. Music goes directly to the heart, which circumvents the head. And in conflict, people are in their head, not even willing to shake a hand or even be in the presence of one another. And we are teaching people that to be able to sing together allows two juxtaposition pages to become superimposed in the moment of the heart of each connecting. And so we're encouraging people worldwide, when they have differences, to be able to sing together, which automatically takes them to the point of resolution rather than ongoing faction fighting. So I want to share this profound moment with you with deep gratitude again, because I know you're into music, as I am, spreading music around the world for seniors suffering from Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, traumatic brain injury, and stroke. And we're now moving on to allow our teachings for conflict resolution using music. So you've really capped my thought for the day. And
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I feel the reciprocity of what you shared. Just actually, I'm really vibrating based on what everyone has shared this morning, and that just kind of put a capstone on it. You know, things that come out of my mouth are coming from a place of consciousness that I've been in previous times. Like this week, I've been teaching and talking in random places at different times about some of the things that spilled out into my meditation. And then, it's all about, the water we're in, right? And one thing that's been resonating with me this week is the idea that intelligence and intellect are not the same thing. And through this orientation to the practice of meditation, by becoming familiar with ourselves through our sense of hearing, through the feeling tones in the body and the moods, and that includes the physical structure of the body and the properties of the body too. But then there's the breath, and then there's the mind. So there's breath, body, feeling tones and moods and mind. And these are the places where I feel we can cultivate something I call intelligence, which is where we become, it's like the areas where we become more sensitive and connected to people that aren't even in this room. but it's compounded because we can also be connected to the people in these rooms, in these spaces. But it goes beyond that. As I said earlier, the heart has no geographical boundaries. That's not intellect. You have to experience that. And intelligence, from as I orient to it, my understanding of it is much more experience based. It's open. Doesn't solve, but it's open. And and it and it opens the mind and it opens the heart in ways that something that we call intellect doesn't. I'm all for intellect and, you know, proper study and approach and doing things smartly. But to have an intelligence, it doesn't put any boundaries or limitations on what's possible. We're talking about wise action this month. I don't know if I see a connection between this and wise action. But honestly, if I was to come and try to speak about wise action, and it would be intellectual. Just to be honest with you, it would be intellectual. But as human beings, we are ultimately going to act on something. But I want to just emphasize and introduce or invite you to think about cultivating intelligence. Usually, intelligence comes up with it's like, that's dumb, or that's very intelligent, or you're so intelligent. I mean, usually it's interpreted as, you're smart and you're witty. But I'm talking about things that you can tell in the moment. Intelligence. That's the best way I can describe it. But it's to become more invested in reading what is not said, seeing what is not revealed, at least sensing, getting some sort of ability to make a shape out of what is obscure. Being able to see your way through the dark, if you will. And your heart is going to tell you at some point in those ventures if this is the right thing to do. And when it does tell you it's the right thing, there's nothing that can make you doubt, except maybe the next experience that you venture out into, which is wise action. It may cause you to move slower and may require you to take more time to engage in whatever that action that is calling you to. But we're not going to think our way to a self-realization. It's not going to happen like that. The Noble Eightfold Path is the path that leads us from the experience of suffering to an experience of non-suffering. If you go A to Z, that's suffering to nirvana or nibbana, if you will. But you're not going to think your way there. But thought is required. You know what? We're not even going to think our way out of the current social climate we're in. That's not the life raft. You look at the news you're watching, look at what you're reading, and it gives you the same old feeling, right? We're not going to think our way through this. We'll have thoughts. I'm not saying don't think, but allow our thinking to be informed by something deeper. It's all integral, it's all integrated. So if somebody said, hey, you know, you can't think your way through out of this problem, and it's like, well, what do I have left? What other sources of intelligence have I not tried? And there's this whole other component of the body, the breath, the feeling tones, the vibrations, and the moods, the impulses, the inspiration. There's just so much more that comes below the neckline that is connecting us to so much more. The heart. I'm going to close since I found that it wasn't my intellect that caused me to share that idea on calligraphy. But I'm going to share that quote as in a closing because I've been actually in the thinking about it. But I'm glad that it's resonated. But it says that there is a Japanese visual art wherein the artist is forced to be spontaneous. He must paint on a thin stretched parchment with a special brush and black water paint in such a way that an unnatural or interrupted stroke will break the parchment, will destroy the line or break through the parchment, and erasures and changes are impossible. These artists must practice a particular discipline of allowing the idea to express itself. In communication with their hands in such a way that deliberation cannot interfere. The resulting pictures may lack the complex composition and textures of ordinary paintings, but it is said that they who see well find something captured that escapes explanation. The particular discipline is allowing the idea to express itself. And so It begins with the artist being forced to be spontaneous. Where does that force come from? Where there's force, there was a relationship to something, right? I submit to you that the force comes from the idea. The idea is a living thing. And as we nurture it and cultivate it and become aligned with it, it forces us in some sort of way to act.
Talking about an idea comes from the heart.
I don't know where the ideas come from. I really don't. This is a mystery to me. Where do ideas come from? They're gifts. No, I think it's more important that we discern, like some ideas don't need to be promoted, some do. What comes on the other side of your filter gets through because there's a connection to it somehow. There's something to be explored. The particular discipline is to allow the idea to express itself, which constitutes getting out of the way. Yes, one more. Yes.
Trying to understand how that could be, and and my I had an image or a vision of like on a cloudy day when the clouds are kind of heavy and you can see them and they're on the low side, and just breaking through, channeling the idea without it being like we think of an idea as something cognitive, and it channeling it through and bypassing those parts of the brain that we consider cognitive into the brush, because it didn't feel right to see it as a thought, but it kind of bypasses that somehow.
I think intelligence takes place from the neck down. I think that if you look at yourself from that standpoint, because that's where your impulse and your action and your the unction comes from is from the neck down. So our intelligence, when I'm saying that intelligence is more important than intellect, it's below the neck that you're gonna do that inquiry, that discovery, that exploration. The test to see if it's true. Don't take what I'm saying by any means, anything that I've said. Just see how it feels for yourself. And based on what I'm hearing, we've had some reports that some things are registering with people. I want to say in closing that Dharma is a practice within the Buddhist tradition where there's an exchange and a reciprocity of energy, so to speak. And I want to thank each of you for your presence alone is a gift, and it does speak in many ways of just your desire to be in connection and in community, which is valuable. And, in these particular contexts where there's an exchange of the energy between a teacher and a group, it's beneficial to receive your gifts, your reciprocity expressed as Dana. This is not an intellectual thing, it's more of an energetic thing. Because it feels really good when you can leave a group and you're trying to share your ideas and you're working with all this kind of energy and you just feel so exposed and open and dumb sometimes to receive something that says, no, you are right there with me. And I appreciate you pulling me and seeing me, even though I didn't say anything. That's what Donna's about. Because I want to come back here and go through this whole thing again, where I don't know if I'm going to even make any sense the next time, but I feel such a commitment to do this type of work. But it makes you feel very open and exposed. So Donna sharing helps patch the holes a little bit. You know what I mean? And I hope that what I offer to you today helps patch some of your holes in some kind of way. So we have a bowl out there, and Alexis can redirect you to our online site, I think it is, or something like that.
Credit card processor up front. So if anyone would like to make a contribution via card, we can help with that.
There we go. So having said this, with all gratitude, I want to thank each of you for your practice and your presence. And may you and your loved ones experience warmth and safety and clarity. And may you find opportunities to reconnect with someone you haven't been in touch with in a while. For the benefit of all beings, we honor this practice. Thank you. Thank you for your time and attention, people.